So I'm sure some people, many people, might go into this expecting Drive 2, but it's certainly not that. When you make a film, especially one as sort of abstract as this, are you thinking about the audience, or are you making the film for yourself?
I think that I would make great harm if I made a film purely for the audience, because it wouldn't be very interesting. You know, I always try to approach whatever I make as a singular audience, because that's what I can contribute, and it's a lot easier to react to because it becomes uncalculated.
And this film has divided critics and audiences. I mean, I even felt myself sort of conflicted during it. Do you enjoy that sort of love it or hate it debate that goes on, especially with a film like this?
I think it's essential. I mean, I think it's loving or hating is the same thing. Loving and hating it for the same reason is very interesting. It's like a full act of penetration, you know.
And you can't, I guess the worst thing would be a mixed reaction or a, forgetful reaction.
Well, it's more like then the time I've taken away from you has been very useful, you know. And that's what art can do. Art can inspire, but in order to inspire, it needs to convey emotions of good or bad, or right or wrong.
The character that Ryan plays in this film is such an interesting character. He was just telling me that he's almost like an avatar in a video game, or the car in Drive as opposed to the driver. Can you talk about developing that character who has, I mean, in my memory, almost no dialogue whatsoever, and why was that essential to him?
Well, I kind of knew it's almost like any idea of what we had done before with Drive had to be removed, you know, so it was a complete clean canvas. And then the concept of a man chained to the womb of his mother is like he's put under a spell, automatically makes an alternate universe. You know, so we very much talked about the idea of the sleepwalker, you know, a man who's caught between two worlds and has no will other than trying to confront his mother, which she holds all the keys to. And then this supernatural force kind of, through his sexual fantasies, opens up as a means of actually penetrating her.
You know, you've been attached to some big studio films, your name has been bandied about, but I wonder, I can't personally picture you working within that studio system. Do you think you could deal with it and all the bullshit that comes with, making a big studio film?
Well, it goes back to your question about making a calculated movie or a movie that is an act of expression. And I just have too much fun not calculating. And I would love to do one day, maybe do a big calculation. It could be maybe a really fun experience. But then I started doing these ads instead, and that was very pleasurable.
You know, we spoke a few years ago, and I remember you telling me that you will never not make a genre film. What genre do you think Only God Forgives falls into?
Fight, Western, mystery, sci-fi, suspense. I mean, there's a little bit of comedy, camp.
Horror.
Midnight, horror, fetish. Around that area.
Yeah, that's simple, that genre. You know, I wonder what comfort food in terms of cinema you have. I mean, everybody has movies that they can always go back to and watch for, inspiration or relaxation. What are some of yours?
Well, I really like to watch very light-hearted romantic comedies. I am a huge fan of Friends. The
really?
Television show, yeah, you have over here,
Mm-hmm.
Friends. And, but Pretty Woman is a film that I, once in a while, go back and rewatch. I find it very intriguing. And mostly just films that are as far removed from the kind of films I tend to make.
Yeah, to purge all the dark atmosphere from these films.
Yeah, it's more like what you make doesn't necessarily mean that it's what interests you in your own entertainment. But then I have children, so we watch a lot of Miyazaki movies. That's probably my favorite thing, is Miyazaki's films. For me, he is the king.
And final question, I'm just wondering, how is Barbarella progressing?
Very well. It's kind of like what I'm concentrating most on now is my show, and I'm very, I have high expectations. I'm really indulging in my high heel fetish.
I can only imagine. So, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Nicolas at this point? I mean, is that as close of a professional relationship as you've ever had?
Yeah, it's pretty close. I have a similar relationship with Derek C. in France, who I made A Place Beyond the Pines with, and Blue Valentine. But it's nice to work with somebody, you know, more than once and hopefully a lot, because you get past you waste a lot of time being polite,
right,
when you make your first movie with someone. So
you guys have a shorthand now that's sort of developed over the years. Now your character in this is so still and composed that it's eerie. What's going on inside this guy's head throughout the film?
I don't think much. I think he's sort of like a character in a video game.
Right.
You know, it's like more of like an avatar for the audience. How do
you like, I guess, muster that up where you're speaking so much with basically silence?
Well, it's more just, I think, about trying not to overcomplicate it, and understanding that, you know, in this film the character is like a vehicle for, you know, like it's like if in Drive I was the driver, and this one I'm the car, you know, and so it sort of was a part of the nightmare, dreamlike aspect that Nicolas was you know, trying to achieve.
The scenes between you and Kristin Scott Thomas, who plays your mother, are just so uncomfortable. What was it like developing that relationship?
I mean, I really liked it. I thought it was funny, and I thought it was funny that Nick wanted to take a sort of action hero archetype and have him sort of emasculated by his mother the whole film.
Serious mommy issues, this
guy
has. Now, do you trust Nicolas implicitly? I mean, are there ever moments where you're like, you know, I just don't get what you're going for here, or you're going too far this time, Nicolas?
Well, I don't always understand it, but you know, it's, you know, you have to kind of admire someone that's putting themselves out there as much as he does. And, you know, I thought after Drive he had you know, because we're friends, I know that he had a lot of options for, you know, big films that might have been easier to get made and to make and to talk about, but he still opted to make this. So, you know, I have to kind of, you know, admire that. And
do you guys have plans for a third or future collaborations?
Yeah, we have too many plans. We need less plans.
So I must admit, I was a little intimidated to come in here.
I know, I've noticed quite a lot of you have been shaking.
Everybody's. I mean, you are so compelling and yet frightening in the film. Can you talk a little bit about entering the headspace of that character?
Yeah, well, it was a journey, two of us getting in there. It was Nicolas and me very much. So he helped a lot by allowing sort of total freedom and encouraging the worst possible ideas. And you know, when I say the worst possible ideas, I mean we were allowed to experiment with things that were almost sort of taboo, and things that you just don't want to think about. But you know that you're going to think about them for those few minutes when the camera's rolling, and you're going to put them into. But I'm thinking particularly about the scenes with the mother and Ryan Gosling's character in the beginning, which are kind of weirdly sexual and very uncomfortable making.
Yeah, I mean, is it the sort of thing, I don't know your process, but it's the sort of thing where, you know, you can't shake that character after a while?
Oh yeah, you can shake it very easily.
Okay.
Oh yes. It's a relief to get the wig off.
Right.
And that was something that I was able to do because of this armour, of this costume and the disguise with the false nails and the false hair and all that kind of thing. It was actually also a way of getting rid of the character, just taking it all off.
I read somewhere that Only God Forgives is a film that is very difficult for you to watch personally. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I just find it really disturbing and very shocking. Not so much the kind of special effects, beautiful special effects, but the underlying implications of all of this is just it's all really disturbing. But at the same time, I'm fascinated, like people who are watching the film, because it is so beautiful, and there's something sort of unreal about it, and otherworldly about it, and almost poetic about it,
and mesmerizing.
And mesmerizing, and you know, I'm mesmerized as the rest of you.
Nicolas is quite the provocateur in all phases. I'm curious what it's like on set with him.
It's actually a really calm set. He's very quiet and very trusting. So you create this sort of mutual trust because, you know, as I said earlier, he allows you to play with ideas that with most people you wouldn't dare go there. But he manages to get all sorts of funny things out of you.
He brings the best and quote-unquote worst out of you, right?
Yeah, but you know, it's a safe place, so it's it was fun and terrifying, and I was glad when it was over.
And you know, your accent in it is so perfect. I mean, it just has this lived-in feel. How long does it take you to get that portion of your performance down?
Well, I had a dialect coach with me. That was something that was very frightening to me because in the beginning she was supposed to be English, and then when Ryan came on board, I said, "But does Ryan do a good English accent?" They said, "No, you're going to be American." So it was a bit of a shock. But that's another reason why I needed all that armour of the way she dresses and everything, because I needed a way in, some way into this character, because I felt so remote from her, especially when she changed nationality.
Yeah. What do you hope people walk away from Only God Forgives feeling and thinking?
That's a very good question, and one that I still haven't found. I don't have an answer for that one, I'm afraid.
I guess it is kind of the film where everybody will bring their own interpretation out of it, right?
Yeah, I think so, and I think there's you are who I don't know. There are so many people. People have come to me with in their own interpretations, and some of them have been really quite grand, you know. And one person said to me, "It's a great film about discovering about deciding who you really are and whether you're going to be influenced by other people and whatever." I don't know. It was good.
So I wanted to ask what it's like to play God.
Interesting.
Maybe not literally, of course, but you know, your character is sort of the one who dishes out the judgment in the film.
Yeah, I think the first task of the project is to find my own personality. Of course, in my previous films, I was being cop, monk, priest. So to play God for me, I have to really ask myself, what if I'm God? What if I have the ultimate power? And what if I can decide to make judgment, to punish or to forgive? So that is, part of it is my own creation, and part of it is Nick's direction. So both combined help create this character.
Can you just talk a little bit about the process of receiving the opportunity to star in this film?
Yeah, it's quite amazing that it's happened. I got a call from a casting director, we're talking about 3 years back, saying that she has this script from this director from Denmark, who I hardly can pronounce his name at the beginning, but But I read the script and I went for the reading, and she sent the tape to Nick, and he likes my character. So that's how it happened.
And now is it just sort of like a whirlwind that, you know, you were at Cannes Film Festival and now doing the press and everything?
Yeah, I didn't expect it to come this far. But, you know, even to bring me back to New York, I was living here 27 years ago.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's something you never thought of.
I'm curious what your own personal reaction was to seeing the final product.
Still amazing to see how beautiful it is. You know, of course, people see it in different ways. Mm-hmm. But for me, I appreciate every take, every cut, you know, everything I hear or everything I witness. I think each character has such a strong personality, and people would really enjoy this project for sure.
The karaoke scenes, because your character really is fond of karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like shooting those, and why do you think that's so crucial to the character?
Oh, that's also one question that I asked myself when I read the script, and little by little it's almost like putting the puzzle or jigsaw together, and sometimes Nick would not tell you mm-hmm. what he think about, you know, what he wants you to think about what the script is. So I have to more like use my own imagination. So I think that the karaoke is important because, first of all, it's something that you can learn more about this character, who really Chang is. And, you don't want to see just a guy going out and keep killing people. Mm-hmm. You mean he liked singing as well, you know? But for me, the singing part is almost like he's in his more like a shrine. Mm. As you see after the movie, you see that it's almost like the place that he can be himself and also be very spiritual in a way.
I guess the first thing I want to say is I'm watching this and I'm wondering, as a filmmaker, do you look at this script when you're writing and think, okay, this is the antagonist, this is a protagonist, or is that out the window?
I don't like to see the world in black and white very much. I tend to not judge the kind of characters that I have in my films. But of course, you have to make them morally ambiguous to make them intriguing. Mm.
Yeah.
But I don't look as who's good and who's bad.
You were originally supposed to do this before Drive. Did shooting Drive and taking that on influence anything in this film at all?
I mean, there was no real changes from the original idea of Only God Forgives before I was going to make it to I finally made it after Drive. But it was probably after Drive I wanted to make it more drug related in order to do something very different than what I had done with Drive. You know, the analysis was always if Drive was really good cocaine, then Only God Forgives was great acid.
Lighting-wise, this is just gorgeous. Can you talk about the influence of that culture and how it made it into the film, and what is it about that culture that fascinates you as a filmmaker?
Well, Bangkok is a very kind of interesting gateway between the West and the East. And by day, Bangkok is a gigantic $12 million city, very much like LA, like spread out, and a lot of people, a lot of noise, and skyscrapers, and everything is just chaotic in this weird structurally sense. But in that night, like after midnight, when things completely close off, it becomes almost like a very Asian city, because all the Westerners have gone home to their hotel rooms, all the tourists that is very much part of the city. And this kind of very nightlight fluorescent feel, and there's a whole generation of Thai people that live by night. And I thought making a movie about that twilight sensibility would be very interesting. It was like finding the right fairy tale country to place the story.
It's funny you say fairy tale. That you put that into a lot of your work, that kind of fairy tale-esque aspect, don't you?
I think that I used to make films trying to capture authenticity, and it stopped interesting me in the end, because in the end, reality was always more of what I was trying to do. So I became interested in heightened reality. And that all started with Bronson, and it's kind of continued in all the movies after that. And it's something I like to explore a lot. You know, Hans Christian Andersen, which was the great fairy tale writer that came from my country, before he found the structure of fairy tale as his art expression, he tried very many different things. So I kind of felt that that happened to me as well. I had to try very different formulas or different types of films or different types of art forms to find out what essentially I can fetishize.